taser! Tase! Tase!
What you're about to see is not for the faint-hearted. This is real footage from some of the most intense shootouts in NYPD history. New York City is full of heroic and challenging stories. However, breakdown does occur from time to time, testing the bounds of law and order. This More Applicants feature includes footage of the NYPD's most dramatic shootouts from various locations of the city on different days. These moments tested the bravery of New York's bravest. On September 15, 2024, at approximately 3:07 p.m., a serious incident unfolded in Brooklyn at the intersection of Sutter Avenue and Van Sinderen Avenue, right near the Sutter Avenue L train station. This typically busy area was bustling with commuters, but on this day, the atmosphere would quickly change. The NYPD's 73rd Precinct and Transit District 33 were alerted to a situation that would lead to an officer-involved shooting.
On the train? Don't fucking touch me! Don't touch me! No!
As officers responded, the urgency of the situation grew. They arrived at the scene prepared to assess what was happening and to ensure public safety. It was during this tense situation that an encounter occurred between officers and a suspect. Details are still emerging, but what we do know is that the confrontation escalated, leading to gunfire.
On the train? Don't fucking touch me! Don't touch me! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Shoot! Put the knife down!
In no time, bullets were flying. The officers were under heavy fire, trying to protect themselves and the civilians around them. The suspect was cornered but determined to escape at all costs, making it a tense battle. Monday, March 25, 2024, at 6:22 a.m., in a quiet neighborhood at 101 Daniel Low Terrace, Staten Island. Under the command of the 120th Precinct, this day started like any other, but quickly turned into a pivotal moment for the community. As dawn broke, officers from the 120th Precinct were alerted to a situation that required immediate attention.
Go. Come back!
Details were scarce, but reports indicated a possible threat to public safety. The officers responded swiftly, prepared to assess and manage the unfolding scenario. Upon arrival, the officers quickly evaluated the scene. Their training kicked in as they established a perimeter, ensuring the safety of nearby residents. Every second mattered, and they needed to act decisively. Initial reports indicated that a suspect was involved, but specifics were unclear. As the officers made contact, they learned that the individual was armed and posed a significant threat. The situation was escalating rapidly, and the officers had to make split-second decisions. Communication was key. The officers on the scene communicated not just among themselves, but also with dispatch and other law enforcement agencies. They needed to gather as much information as possible while keeping the situation under control.
What's the knife? Knife! Let go of the knife! Let go of the knife! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife! Taser! Give me another taser! Tase!
The gunfire echoed through the streets, leaving the community in shock. Officers immediately called for backup and medical aid. The priority was clear: secure the scene and ensure no one else was in harm's way. Fortunately, The situation was brought under control relatively quickly. The officers managed to subdue the suspect, ensuring that no further harm came to the community. Their decisive actions likely prevented a more dangerous outcome. On the morning of Monday, February 12th, 2024, an incident unfolded in the heart of Queens that would shake the community and remind us of the dangers our law enforcement officers face. This is the story of an officer involved shooting in the vicinity of Beach Channel Drive and Beach 51st Street, under the command of the 101st Precinct. It was 10:55 a.m. when officers from the 101st Precinct responded to a call about suspicious activity near Beach Channel Drive. The neighborhood, usually quiet at that hour, quickly became the center of an unfolding situation. As officers arrived at the scene, they were briefed on the situation. A man in the area had been behaving erratically, reportedly armed, and was creating a potential threat to the people nearby. The officers immediately began to assess the situation, taking every precaution as they approached the suspect. Suddenly, the situation escalated. The officers tried to de-escalate the encounter, but the suspect became increasingly agitated. Despite their attempts to get him to surrender peacefully, the man brandished a weapon, and the threat became all too real. The officers repeatedly called out to the suspect, ordering him to drop the weapon. They were trained to handle such situations, knowing that every moment mattered. But time was running out. The sound of gunfire echoed through the streets of Queens. Within moments, the suspect was down, and officers immediately moved in to secure the scene. Paramedics were called to the location, but tragically, the suspect was pronounced dead on arrival. The incident left the community shaken. Residents of the area, who were used to seeing police as a protective force, now found themselves grappling with the complexities of law enforcement and the dangers officers face in situations that can turn violent in an instant.
Open the door so you guys close it.
It was late, just after midnight in the early hours of Friday, May 24th, 2024. Most of Brooklyn was asleep, unaware that an incident was about to unfold that would shake the neighborhood of Hegeman Avenue. The time was 12:46 a.m., and this would be a night that few would forget. Officers from the 75th Precinct were dispatched to Hegeman Avenue after a routine vehicle stop took a dangerous turn.
How you doing, boss? How you doing? Can I see your hand? Can I see your license registration? License registration?
Why did I get
I'll explain to you as soon as I get your license. As soon as you give it to me, I'll explain it to you.
The officers, part of Response Group 3, were attired in full uniform and conducting a standard check when suddenly the situation escalated. The vehicle, driven by a 25-year-old male, began to flee the scene. In a desperate attempt to escape, the driver struck one of the officers with the car. It was a moment of sheer chaos, What began as a routine stop had turned into a life-threatening situation.
How you doing, boss? What's the bar?
This is a ticket.
The bar ko?
This is a ticket, bro.
The bar ko?
What are you talking about? This is a ticket, bro.
The bar ko?
In response, one of the officers, fearing for the safety of his fellow officer and the public, discharged his service firearm. 3 shots rang out, aimed at the fleeing vehicle as it sped away from the scene. It was an immediate reaction to a rapidly deteriorating situation. The officer's decision to fire his weapon was not made lightly. His colleague had just been struck, and the suspect posed a continued threat. These are the moments where officers must make split-second decisions under immense pressure. These incidents, happening across different boroughs and on different days, show just how unpredictable and dangerous law enforcement can be in New York City. The NYPD officers who responded faced the ultimate test of their training and courage. But for the officers, the story doesn't end after the last shot. Each incident is thoroughly investigated to ensure that every action taken was justified and followed department guidelines. This process is long and involves a careful review of all evidence. As you've just seen, the streets of New York can be unpredictable, but the bravery of those who protect us is unwavering. If these stories resonated with you, remember that supporting our law enforcement and staying informed is more important than ever.